Morning everyone. So today we are going to start writing our diary entries and we're going to be doing a bit of a project on this. We're going to be writing a diary entry every day for our literacy this week. And the reason we've chosen to do this, me and Mr. Savage, is we thought it would be a really nice idea to have something to look back at to remember what homeschooling was like, because hopefully we're going to return back to school and it will all become a bit more normal and COVID should be going away a little bit more. So today we're going to be learning about how to write a perfect diary entry, and you can look back at this video later on in the week if you're struggling with your diary entries. And I just thought this is a really good way to start off by giving you a bit of an introduction to what a diary entry is and how to make them really good. Writing a diary entry. When you write a diary entry, you are writing about a day in the life of a real person or character. The diary entry needs to sound as if the person or character has written it, so it needs to be written from their point of view. It also needs to be exciting and interesting to read. To get this right, follow a few easy steps. So you can see there it says it could be written about the day in the life of a real person or character. So this is going to be written from your perspective. So that'll make it nice and easy to write it in the first person, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. But I could also ask you to write a diary entry from the perspective of someone we've learnt about, so maybe Boudicca or Julius Caesar, or later in the week we're learning about Emperor Hadrian. You could also be asked to make one about a character, which it says up here. So maybe I could say, I really want you to write a diary entry as if you are Edward Tulane and this has happened to you. But what we are going to do and focus on this week is writing about what happens to us over the course of the week. And we need to know what these few easy steps will be to help us get it just right. Diary writing must include the date and or time. The date or time can be written at the top of the page like this. Dear Diary, 2 days ago something dreadful happened. The conditions crossing the Wendell Sea were difficult and Endurance became stuck in a large sheet of... But you can see it says 2 days ago there, so that's also telling us it's 2 days before this date. And they've put the date in the right hand corner of their page before they've written Dear Diary. So in a similar way that you might put your short date in maths in your book, but they've written the long date, as you can see there. Or you could also include your date and time in the first few sentences of a diary entry. So over the past months, I've been watching my crew members in the freezing temperatures. It is important because it tells the reader exactly when the diary is being written. So obviously this week you'll start off with Monday the 1st of March, Tuesday the 2nd of March, Wednesday the 3rd of March, Thursday the 4th of March and Friday the 5th of March, and that'll be at the top of your page here before you start writing your diary entry. Diary writing must be written in the first person. This means including pronouns such as I, my, we and our. These words are special because they tell us the diary is being written by someone and they are talking about themselves. Look at these two examples. Which one uses the correct words to be written in the first person? As I looked down from our lofty home, I noticed a group of humans. They seemed to be holding loud, bright monsters with sharp, glistening teeth that were tearing our trees from the ground. So that's our first option. Is that written in the first person? Has that got those pronouns we were talking about? Our second option. As she looked down from their lofty home, she noticed a group of humans. They seemed to be holding loud, bright monsters with sharp, glistening teeth that were tearing their trees from the ground. Does that have the pronouns we were talking about? Does that sound as if you're talking about yourself? So you can see here we've highlighted the pronouns. And our first one was the first person one. Our second one is actually written in the second person. It's talking about a girl or a woman, she. Diary writing must. Using past tense for the main events. Diaries are usually written about an event that has already occurred, so should be written in the past tense. Which of these examples is written in the past tense? 2 days ago, something dreadful happened. Endurance became stuck in a large sheet of floating ice, an ice floe, following risky conditions crossing the Wendell Sea. Is that written in the past tense? How can you tell if it is or isn't? Today, something dreadful will happen. Endurance will stick in a large sheet of floating ice, an ice floe, following risky conditions crossing the Wendell Sea. So past tense are things that have already happened. So that alone should tell you which one of these is the past tense. You can see we've got the words that tell you. So happened, past tense, ed, stuck rather than will stick. So that's the future, will happen. So this one here is the past tense. And this one down here is happening in the future. Diary writing must include an introduction to set the scene. It is important to set the scene when writing a diary to ensure that it is clear what you are writing about. You might answer the questions who, what, where, or when. Which of the following extracts is an introduction? How do you know? Okay, so in this introduction to set the scene, you might ask the questions who, what, where, or when. You've probably looked at that before earlier on in school. But which of the following extracts is an introduction? So which one of those answers the question who, what, where, or when? So our first one. Today has been an unusually busy day for me. When I woke up this morning, I noticed the usual calm atmosphere within our group had been replaced by one of panic. Our second one. For now, I must catch up on eating and sleeping and hope they do not return tomorrow. Which one of those sounds like an introduction? It's that one. So this one over here is definitely the start of a story, isn't it? Because it's beginning to explain how this person's feeling and what happened at the start when I woke up this morning. And this one over here sounds more like an ending to me. Diary writing must tell events in chronological order. So we've discussed this because we've looked at chronological reports and non-chronological reports in guided reading. Chronological order means something happens as it would happen in the day. So you have your breakfast first, then you might describe your lunch, then you might describe your dinner. In a diary, we usually write about the events in our day in the order they happen. We only include the most important or interesting events. So you wouldn't say, I got out of bed, I stepped one foot in front of the other, and then again, and then again, and then again. And then I sat down on the toilet. And then I blew my nose. And then I washed my hands, and then I brushed my teeth. And then I looked in the mirror, and then I rubbed my eyes. That wouldn't be very exciting, would it? We need to only include the most important or most interesting events, so you need to edit it down to think about what would someone else like to read about in my day. So which one of these would you include in a diary? I ate breakfast. We visited the most amazing museum. An exhibit came to life. We had to evacuate the museum. I had a nap. Okay, so I would probably say you could talk about eating breakfast if you had something really nice for breakfast. So if you had one of your favourite breakfasts or you had something really horrible, so something to make it a bit more entertaining. But if it was just the same old breakfast as you always have, maybe don't talk about that. But if some other exciting things happened, make sure that you include those things. So obviously visiting a museum, an amazing museum with an exhibit coming to life and you having to evacuate are all quite eventful things. I'm not so sure about having a nap, but the PowerPoint seems to think that's very exciting. You might choose to include information about breakfast or having a nap if it is relevant or unusual. So maybe you never have naps, so that's why they've included having a nap. Diary writing musts include personal emotions and feelings. A diary is usually a secret place to write about the truth about how you feel about what has happened to you in the day. In a diary, you might include feelings, hopes, or fears that you wouldn't want anyone to know about. Look at the examples below. Where have these diary writers described their feelings? So our first one, Egypt is such a rich, powerful country, and although I am nervous about ruling it, I would rather do so alone. So there we can see the person's talked about being nervous. And then, yesterday, feeling relieved, it's even got feeling in it, so relieved is the feeling they are feeling. We reached the island of South Georgia and then completed a day-long trek to find a whaling station. Yeah, so you can see, nervous, would rather do so alone, and feeling relieved. So they've both included how they feel, and that's something I'm going to be looking for you to include in your diary entries. Diary writing must. Use time conjunctions and adverbials. After that, before lunch until sunset. So I wouldn't be too concerned about doing this because I will remind you later on today when you are actually writing your diary entry that we need to be using our fronted adverbials. A diary is usually describing lots of events. To make sense of when these events happened, it is helpful to include time conjunctions and adverbials. If we use just one word, such as then, to link the events in our diary, it can get very boring. So remember when I was telling you about my morning, I got out of bed, I did this, I did that, I did this. See, that is telling you things in order, but it's not making it clear what order they're in, really. You only know that because it's normal to get out of bed and then go to the toilet and not the other way around. But you need to mix up how you are saying that time has moved on. Look at the example below. Can you identify the time conjunctions and adverbials that have been used? Later, we will organise a lavish funeral for father that will last for days with plenty of music as he would have wanted. After hearing the news of my father's death, I overheard the members of the court discussing what is to happen. So which one of those actually show the time? There we are. So they are fronted adverbials. They are things that happened at the start of the sentence and follow with a comma. Later, and then after hearing the news of my father's death. Find the features. Which features can you see in the following examples? So have a little think about what you can see. Monday the 31st of October. Dear Diary, yesterday started as usual but changed very suddenly. As soon as I entered the kitchen I knew something was wrong. My witch was nowhere to be seen. My food was not in the bowl and the door was wide open. I began to feel anxious as I noticed the broom and wand were missing. ... So we can see here there are lots of different features. There is an introduction, so it kind of sets the scene of what's happening. Time conjunctions and adverbials are in blue. You also have the date, which is, of course is very important. Oh, sorry. My which, so that's you're talking about in the first person. I, first person again. Your feelings, feeling anxious. And loads of past tense words are all of those words in purple. Right, so we're not actually going to do this. We're going to do a slightly different diary entry. We are going to, first of all, have a look at a sheet that I found for you to do. So let me just find it. Ooh, where have I put it? No, it's not that one. Sorry guys, I've got many things open here. Ah, it's this one here. So, analysis of diary entry features. So this morning, before we move on to actually writing our diaries, because we need a little bit more time to pass, so we'll actually have something to write about, we are going to be looking at the features of a diary. So I've told you a lot about these things, haven't I? So we should know all about what these things are. But what I would like you to do is, first of all, pick which one you'd like to do. Would you like to do a 1-star, 2-star, or it's just 1-star and 3-star? Would you like to do 1-star or 3-star work? And you need to find these coloured pencils if you can. If you can't, don't worry, just shade it in a different colour and then label which one it is. Read the following entry from Little Red Riding Hood's diary. Use coloured pencils to find examples of the following features in the text. Okay, so this is a diary entry. We need to look for all of these different things. So written in the first person, remember we need to look for things that are, well, we need to look for pronouns actually, which are the correct pronouns that I've already spoken about for writing in the first person as if it has happened to you. Then we've got users informal and chatty language. So maybe I can see one straight away. Oh my goodness. So you wouldn't write that if you were writing to someone formally, would you? Maybe if you were writing to someone to ask for money back about something, or you were writing to someone to ask for a job or something, you wouldn't start it with, oh my goodness. You definitely wouldn't, because that is informal and chatty. Then describes the author's thoughts and feelings. So how are they feeling? I have never been so frightened in all my life. So frightened would then be in red. Frightened in all my life. Inverted commas for direct speech. So inverted commas are little lines that go around speech. Oh, sorry, kitten meowing at me. So then when you found a bit of speech that's got those inverted commas around it, so here, no dilly-dallying, from there until where the speech closes, you need to colour that in green. Then adverbials of time, so bits that show what time these things are happening. And addresses the diary directly. So when you are actually kind of talking to the diary. So this one, first of all, is one of them. Dearest diary. Okay, so give that a go. It shouldn't take you too long. It's only a little, I think it's just one page actually. It's just one page. And then you can check your answers all the way down here. And as I said, there's a 1-star and a 3-star, so it's up to you which one you want to try. The 3-star is a bit longer. And I'll see you later on for some more literacy where we're actually going to be writing our diary entries. I hope you enjoy this project. I think it'll be a lot of fun and something really nice to look back on.